Hey everyone, David here from Team Ultra Instinct bringing you a starter Goku deck profile. I actually really like this deck for Red Infusion World. It caught me off guard for a while. I had thought the Universe 7 Goku leader was a lot better. And as I played more and more for the game, I kind of noticed I started to lean toward a tendency to liking the starter Goku leader a little bit more. It caught me a little bit off guard. Beerus is still a really good red leader, but actually between the two red Goku leaders, currently I'm really liking the starter Goku leader. So we're gonna dive into the deck here, and I'm actually using the client for this. So this is kind of a first time deck profile utilizing the client. Usually I utilize the DBS Deck Planet, but I wanted to try utilizing the client just to showcase it a little bit. It's neat. I managed to get a lot of the cards, so this is exactly how I would run it in real life. So I got lucky more on the red side than I did with a lot of stuff. But I do have a tendency to like red. Red is actually pretty powerful. It has a lot of good matchups. It can do a lot. I would say it's pretty competitive. Really, you just put your head down and start swinging. That's the best way to play the color, and hope for the best. But diving into the actual deck for starter Goku, obviously we have the actual leader here. The leader being a draw one. Pretty much all the leaders are draw one on their unawakened side, and then at 4 or less life, you awaken. He's a draw one when you flip over. And then on the awakened side, you draw a card, and then he has an activate battle, which is once per turn. You can choose one of your battle cards, and it gets 5k power for the battle. So this actually works on both turns, and this is why I actually started to like this leader a little bit more. It really forces your opponent to have to make a hard decision because there's a lot of times where you'll have a threat on board early game, and really what they have to do is they have to commit into it a little bit. Not always. I mean, they may have the direct out to it. You may not be awakened right away. That's always the possibility of happening. But you typically are awakened by turn 3 at least. But with this, being able to do a 5k boost during your opponent's turn is actually really large. It forces your opponent to knowing they have to commit at least one card if they want to try and just defeat it by battle. Um, they may be able to uninteractively do it. For instance, yellow could potentially just do what is it, Golden Death Beam. They KO a 3 cost or less in rest mode, or blue can just bounce it back to hand, and then yeah, you have to repay to play the guy out. And there's answers to the guys on board, but really it's nice to just be able to defend on both turns. I've found that it does actually put people in a pinch quite a bit. And if that body does stick on board, now you have the chance to play another body in the next turn, which really starts to put your opponent in a pinch. Now, really the only color that's going to out you at that point is blue, because they'll play Sinister Sickle, which, you know, it is what it is at that point. But I really like this leader because you can defend your battle cards. And U7 Goku, unfortunately, doesn't have that capability. He's pretty much straight aggro, a little bit weaker on defense, whereas this leader is pretty much all around, I would say. Um, but going into the battle cards for the list, originally I had actually ran the starter deck Whis, but I noticed I started to like this in-set Whis a little bit more. It gives you the capability of just, if they can't remove it, it's pretty much just going to be a minus 5k to a battle card every single turn, and it forces your opponent to combo with any of their draw one cards or anything that they're just going to try and leave on board. That's pretty much a 5k, or else it's just going to die, because when you minus a card's power to 0, it'll die. So running for the Whis here, just to deal with the board a little bit and to help minus some power on any larger cards as well. Then I run 4 of the 1-drop Master Roshi from the main set. This is pretty much just to be a turn 1 Self-Awakening card, and if it sits on board, even better. There is some cards that I have in the deck that actually pair very well with this Master Roshi, but being able to just start Self-Awakening and pretty much just put your opponent to go, oh, they're going to awaken on turn 2, turn 3, no matter what. Because if they can't remove this on turn 1, it's pretty much just going to sit there, and it's going to do exactly what it needs to do, which is to take one of your own life and add it to your hand. And what he does is he actually does reduce an extra card cost from your hand by a specified red, which means if you have a 1-cost red extra card in your hand, it'll become a 0 cost. So very strong card. Actually pretty critical for the deck too. Then we have our 4 draw 1 Master Roshis. Pretty much all the draw 1 cards are staples right now. Unless you have a Searcher Gohan in your deck. Pretty much, I think only green has the capability of opting out of the draw 1 cards. But every other color pretty much needs the 4 draw 1s. So we have our 4 draw 1s in here. Then we have 4 of the SR hit. I actually think this is probably the most broken card in the deck. It says when attacking, you add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, which means at a certain point, if you're at 4 or less life, you could choose 0. You could still choose 1. I've done plenty of games where I've chosen to take the life still just to get an extra card in hand, use it for combo power. But you can add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, so he's going to be one of your early Self-Awakeners. And then you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards that gets minus 5k power for the turn. So if they play any of the draw 1 cards, it's Master Roshi, you're killing it right away because they only have 5k power. So you just got to be smart about it. Typically what I do is if they have one of those on board and that's it, I'll swing with the hit first just to kill it, and then I'll swing with my leader. I mean, obviously if I could awaken, even better, but can't always guarantee that you're going to awaken on that turn 2, turn 3. It's all situational awareness, but typically he's going to be your turn 2 drop because this card is just nuts. And if it sits on board, even stronger. Then we have our promo Goku. I think this card is best paired with this deck and was designed for it. And it has a permanent that says if your leader card is awakened, it gets 5k power for the turn. And it is a 2 cost. So that means it is a 25,000 battle card. 2 energy. And that's, I think, the strongest 2-drop outside of the Trunks. Trunks is a base 30k, but in any other deck, this card's going to be a 25k, and I think that pretty much trumps everything except for Trunks. Trunks is a 10k combo, so he has some merits, but he's in blue. In red, the only time you have this additional merit is if you're playing U7 Goku, because the 2-drop Krillin starter card just to the right of this Goku will become a 25k, but the plus side is this Goku is 25k in both turns, which means they can't easily swing into it and just kill it. And keep in mind, your leader card can buff its power, so it can become a 30k once per turn, depending on how you're situationally utilizing that ability. And for me, I actually tend to use it a lot more on the 2-drop Goku. Pretty much I'll do it if they're awakened. I'll swing with the 25k Goku, and then I'll activate my leader ability, make it a 30. It forces them to use either a super combo or a couple cards out of hand just to deal with it, or one of their extra cards to deal with it. After the 3 Gokus here, I would say it's almost mandatory to run those 3. So I do recommend running 3. 2 is the minimum you can run. 4 is overkill, but 2 to 3 is pretty much your range on those Gokus. But I do run 4 Krillin. I don't play him a lot. He's really utilized just to be a 10k combo and a potential self-awakening. Yes, I have used him to self-awaken, but he is one of my slightly less played cards in the deck. But when you got to see what you got to see, pretty much you only have, well, you have a lot of self-awakening in this deck. You have 14 cards that can self-awaken you. But I would rather not run the 4 less. With the limited card pool we have from set 1, I'd pretty much say he's necessary for now. But as time goes on, I would consider taking out this Krillin. But it being a 10k combo is really useful. So keeping it at the 4 for now. And then this SR Goku, I actually originally was running it at 1 in the deck, but I kind of saw how powerful it can be when you can just KO at 20k power or less. And it is a self-awakener. So if you need to take a life to go down to 4, you can still do that. He's a 25k power card for 3 energy, and you can KO at 20k power or less. Still a really good card. It's nice to be able to bump it up to 30k power. I only run it at 2 because it has 0 combo power. If it did have more combo power, like maybe 5k, or if it had 5k, I'd probably run it at 3. But because it's 0, I'm being a little bit more careful about it, and I'm only running it at 2. I run 3 of the Frost that says your opponent's battle cards with 20k power or less can't attack. Pretty much just to be if I'm facing Ginyu, I'm slamming this down. If I'm facing yellow, I'll try to put it down if I can. But especially against Ginyu, I'll be slamming this down to force them to have to deal with it, stave off some aggression, or completely shut off the deck if they just can't out it. I faced a couple people where they literally just couldn't out it, or if they did out it, I had a second one, and then they just couldn't out the second one. Card is kind of dumb, but it's not broken. It's just dumb in certain matchups. Then I do run 2 of the 3-drop starter Beerus, which says when it attacks, you can buff one of your battle cards by 5k power for the turn. And then it is a 20k crit 3-drop. I'll be honest, I don't utilize it a whole lot. There are situations where I do use it, but it is certainly one of my least used cards in the deck, if not the most least used in the deck. I would say, yeah, it probably is the least used card in my deck. Limited card pool, like I said, with set 1. I don't think it's terrible for the deck. I don't think it's great for the deck. It's one of those cards where if we get more support for this deck, it would come out. Then I only run 1 of the secret rare Gokus in the deck. I don't really think you need to. I'm being a little more conscious about what my combo power looks like, because this game doesn't have negates, so we have to be smart about combo power, any activate battles, extra cards. It does have us mitigate that. So I only run the 1 secret rare, and funny enough, I do see it quite a bit actually, and it's coming clutch whenever I actually need to play it. And if I don't need to play it, I'll simply just charge it. Solid card. I like it at 1. I wouldn't run it at 2, but that really turns into user preference at a certain point. So I'd personally keep it at 1. 2 works. Then I run 4 of the starter Gohan. I think this card's really good for 4 energy. I don't think it's broken or anything, but for early set 1 meta, I think this card's great. It's a 25k crit, and in this deck it can become a 30k crit, obviously once per battle, but still 30k, forces a little bit extra out of their hand or a super combo, and when he attacks, he can neg something by 10k power. I've either 1, killed many low power cards, or 2, lowered a card's power to a point where I can swing at that card with other battle cards and or leader cards, just to remove it off the board. So him applying crit pressure to the leader while applying some board control, actually really strong. Then I run 1 of the 5-drop Beerus SR. I actually think this card's great as a 1-of in the deck. I wouldn't run it in any more than the 1-of. Whenever I've seen it, it's been great. And if I really have to, I'll charge it as an energy. I've done that plenty of times. There's been a lot of situations where he just hasn't been to play. Yeah, crit's great and all. Yeah, board removal's great, but you still have a lot of minusing power to do some board removal. So this Beerus isn't bad in here. I like it at 1. It is a Universe 7, so that'll be notable for some cards coming up here. I do like it, and it is good as a 1-of, and I don't think that's going to change until they print something that is, quite frankly, a lot more broken. Then I run 3 of the starter Goku SR. So it is a 5 energy card as well, no combo power, 35k power, just like the Beerus. But in this case, it is a double striker, which is a very, 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 very big positive for the deck. Most decks obviously want their double strikers in the deck to close out game. I'll try to slam this down if my opponent either has a blocker or I'm going for game. The reason I say they have a blocker, on play, you choose up to one of your bonus battle cards and it gets minus 20k power for the turn. That could be absolutely huge, because when a card's power reaches 0 as well, it does not count as being KO'd. It is removed via game mechanics. That is just a card cannot exist on board with 0 or less power. So him being able to do that and clear up board and then just go for a double striker, and then paired with your leader ability, obviously off the leader ability, that's already a 40k double striker. And then if you just dump in and go for game of the double strike when they're at 2 life, it's huge. I would not change it being at 3. 3, I think, is the sweet spot. 2 is too few. 4 is too many. Unless you decide you don't want to run the Beerus, then sure, 4 works. But I personally think the 1 Beerus and the 3 Goku is great. Uh, I'm running 4 super combos. I feel like that should be self-explanatory, but since it is a little bit new to some people out there, the 4 super combos just kind of big because defensively it's a 20k combo. So if your opponent's dumping hand or going big or swinging with big cards, it's just a nice way to be like, I don't have to dump as many because this is a 20k compared to a 10 or a 5. So I wouldn't change it off the 4. I don't know why many people would. I've I've seen people have less. I would argue that is a terrible decision. So stay at the 4. Then we have 3 of this. I can't remember the exact name of it. It's like Representatives of Universe 7 or something like that. Unfortunately, the client covers it up a little bit. Let me see if I can get it here. But the reason is, yeah, it's a nice view for it. I'll fix that. But it is Assemble Representatives of Universe 7. Basically, this is going to be one of your pairings with the Self-Awakening Roshi, because when you can activate this card or use the activate main, you can look it up to 5, or look at the 5 cards from the top of the deck, reveal 1 Universe 7 card, no cost that is specified. It just says reveal 1 Universe 7 card, which all of this deck is, except for the Hit and the Frost. Everything else, Universe 7. That means you could search out super combos, you could search out your SRs, so your game enders, your defensive capabilities, even your low cost guys. Oh, and the Son Goku promo isn't. You could search out a lot of your deck, and you could search out another copy of this if it's just like, all right, whatever, last resort, I'll just grab this. And if you really need to, it does have an activate battle during your turn specifically. Your leader card or up to one of your battle cards gets 15k power for the battle. Typically, you're using it for the searching capabilities. And like I said, it not being cost restricted and can just grab any Universe 7 kind of makes this card broken. Especially when you could, on turn 1, pair this with Roshi, where you take life, play this for free. Very, very large merit to utilizing this card. Then I run 3 of the Kamehameha as well. I have been thinking about dropping it down a little bit. There's been a lot of times where I don't use it. I might make it a 2 of and replace that for potentially another card in the deck. I just don't know what I want to up in the deck because I want it to be something with combo power. I mean, it could be another secret rare Goku, to be honest. Kamehameha is one of those best worst cards in the deck. It feels great when it goes, but the problem is I often tap out, so then it feels bad often. God Kamehameha, I have it as a 1 of, and this is to KO any card with 30k power or less. If you minus a card's power to that point, you can KO it. Or, and what I try to keep it for in the yellow matchup, I try to keep it for the 4-drop Cooler SR to just slam that down, KO it, not even have to deal with that SR, keep swinging face. Yes, is it a 1 of, and I have to see it at a specific timing? Yeah. But as a 1 of, I have not complained about it being one of in the deck. I haven't complained about not seeing it. I haven't complained about having it in the deck. I think it's by far one of my favorite one-ofs in the deck. And kind of surprising to say that with it being an extra card, it being my favorite out of the few one-ofs I have, every single time I have seen it, it has come in clutch, or I have simply just charged it. But did I feel bad about that charge? No. So it's been a very good card in the deck. I actually would recommend keeping it as a 1 of just to out certain situations. And you need to know in certain matchups, it's just better to have it than to not. Against green, if you know they're going to play the 5-drop Goku, rare, this is a good card. Just deal with it. Be done with it. 1 card removal. Cool. Against yellow, the Cooler SR. Against blue, this is actually a card where I would just charge it right away if I saw it. Because against blue, you can do a lot more. You can just keep swinging. They won't be able to do much. And same with red. Red can do stuff to your board, but it doesn't really merit you running or playing the God Kamehameha unless you're literally backed into a corner. But that is actually the deck profile for the starter Goku deck. It's actually been treating me very well. Let me see if I can reset that. It is my competitive deck. It's my number 1 deck. I've been messing around with a ton of other decks, but this is my go-to deck if I want to play competitively, start ranking up, knowing that I'm going to take games. It's very consistent. Does exactly what I need it to. Deals with pretty much every color evenly. Uh, really doesn't struggle with any color matchup, but obviously going second is preferred in the green matchup because if they go second, then they're going to just start ramping just super efficiently. They're going to have a little bit more hand advantage, and you don't want that. I do recommend this deck, and if you're just beginning out, it's really not a drastically large amount of cards to upgrade the deck. A lot of it is pretty friendly. Um, a lot of it is starter cards. I mean, there's probably half the deck isn't starter cards, so that's a plus where half of it is starter as well. Really, all you need to get is a secret rare, the hit SRs, and then the inset one drops, and the Goku SRs, and you're pretty much looking at an entire deck. I guess the Beerus and the promo Gokus, which really isn't that many cards now. I'm looking at it. Frost, I would say, isn't entirely mandatory, but if you're going to play competitively, you need to have it on hand and be ready for Ginyu. It is a pretty budget-friendly deck overall. Thankfully, the hits are cheap. The only expensive card is going to be the secret rare. And then if you have the starters, you're already knocking off more than half the price. The Goku isn't too expensive, and the Beerus honestly isn't too expensive. I think the Goku promo is a little bit pricey as of current, but maybe this will be a card that comes out of the list as time goes on. But I hope you guys did enjoy it, and I hope this helps out a lot of new people who are trying to figure out a good deck list for starter Goku. I do recommend this. It is a very good start. And then if you find cards you want to tweak on your own, feel free to tweak it. I'm not saying this is the end all be all. This is a lot of my preference. But I hope this is a good starting point for a lot of you, and I hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.